Hello class 11. Here I am going to start chapter 4, Landscape of the Soul, from your Hornbill book. The chapter Landscape of the Soul is written by Nathalie Troveray, who is the well-known historian, but came into limelight due to her translated work of the famous book Diogenes, that is written by William Dalrymple. She has travelled various cities of the world with her husband. She holds a master's degree in the history of art and architecture from the University of Belgium. She had also planned to write her next book on Old Delhi and its architecture, like Jama Masjid and Chandni Chowk. Let's know about the theme of this chapter, Landscape of the Soul. Here the writer contrasts Chinese art form with the European art forms by recounting two stories about Chinese art and one story about European art form. The European artist wants the perfect likeness. That means the European artist reproduces the actual view, whereas the Chinese art is about not creating the real landscape. The European art is an artist's way to let viewers show exactly what he wants them to see in his painting or landscape, whereas Chinese art requires the active participation of the viewer both physically and mentally to understand his art form. Hence, Chinese art is the artist's spiritual and inner voice, where you can travel from any point and it lets the viewer create a path for their imagination. Let's now see the difference. See the chapter. A wonderful old tale is told about the painter Wu Daozi, who lived in the 8th century. His last painting was a landscape commissioned by the Tang Emperor Xuanzong to decorate a palace wall. The master had hidden his work behind a screen, so only the emperor would see it. Landscape means painting. Commissioned, that means officially asked to create something. Here the story begins with the introduction about a painter named Wu Daozi who lived in the 8th century. He was assigned the work to decorate a palace wall by the Tang Emperor Xuanzong. As it was the last work of this great painter, he hid his work behind the screen so that only the emperor would be able to see it. For a long while, the emperor admired the wonderful scene, discovering forest, high mountains, waterfalls, clouds floating in an immense sky, men on the hilly paths, birds in the flight. Immense means extremely large or great. Flight, that is the act of flying. Hence, when the painting was ready, the emperor was invited. However, he stood for a long time and admired the wonderful sight, the scenes like forest, high mountains, waterfalls, floating clouds, men on the hilly paths, and the birds in the flight. Look, sire, said the painter, in this cave at the foot of the mountain dwells a spirit. Dwells, that means living. Spirit means some imaginary creature with the magic powers. As the painter was not satisfied with admiration of the emperor, he wanted to drag his attention towards a cave in the painting, which was at the foot of the mountain. He said to the emperor that there resided a living spirit. Then the painter clapped his hands and the entrance to the cave opened. Hence, the entrance to the cave opened when the painter clapped his hands. The inside is splendid, beyond anything words can convey. Please let me show your majesty the way. The painter let the emperor know how beautiful the inside of the cave was. He asked for the permission of the king to make him show the way to enter into the cave. The painter entered the cave, but the entrance closed behind him, and before the astonished emperor could move or utter a word, the painting had vanished from the wall. Astonish means surprising. vanish, that means disappeared. But to great surprise, when the painter entered the cave, the entrance to it was closed behind him. The emperor could not enter the cave, as the emperor was greatly surprised that the painting also vanished from the wall with the disappearance of the painter from there. Not a trace of Woodhouse's brush was left, and the artist was never seen again in this world. So here it is mentioned that not a single mark of the painting it was now left there on the wall, and even the painter, this great Woodhouse, was never found in this world again. That means this great painter Woodhouse, along with his painting on the wall, he disappeared from the world. Not even the single mark of his paintbrush that was there found on the wall. Such are the great artists which are really found in the world. Such stories played an important part in China's classical education. The books of Confucius and Zhuangzi are full of them. They help the master to guide his disciple in the right direction. Beyond the anecdote, they are deeply revealing of the spirit in which art was considered. Disciple, that means a follower of a leader or a teacher. Anecdote, that means short, amusing story. Here it is explained the stories like just we have read about Wu Daozi. So these played an important role in the classical education of China. Similarly, the books of Confucius and Zhuangzi, these amusing stories help the master or the teacher to help and guide his followers in the right direction to understand the art forms and its meanings. Such stories are not meant only for the amusement, they are meant to help and guide the followers to understand the deep revealing facts of the art form. That means, so they are the guidelines for the followers to understand the real form of the art and hence enable them to follow the real art form in their works. Contrast the story or another famous one about a painter who would not draw the eye of a dragon he had painted for fear it would fly out of the painting. Here it is mentioned that there was another famous story in contrast to the previous one where the painter had not painted the eye of a dragon in his art form. He feared that the dragon would fly out from the painting if he would provide the eye to it. With an old story from my native Flanders that I find most representative of Western painting. Flanders is a medieval country in the Western Europe. Here the writer informs that this one was in fact one of the stories from many others which she had heard from the medieval country like Flanders in the Western Europe. So such things were very common in the past and even in the western part of the European countries. Next paragraph. In 15th century Antwerp, a master blacksmith called Quentin Matsizes fell in love with a painter's daughter. The father would not accept a son-in-law in such a profession. So Quentin sneaked into the painter's studio and painted a fly on his latest panel with such delicate realism that the master tried to swat it away before he realized what had happened. Antwerp is a city of northern Belgium. Sneaked, that means to go in secretly. Panel means painting. Delicate realism, that is a treatment that produces something very like real life. That is, in fact, the quality of art that makes it seemed real. Swat means hit or crush something. Here in this paragraph, the writer is giving description about the meaning of the word delicate realism, and for the understanding of the readers, he is giving the reference about a city of Belgium, that is Antwerp of the 15th century. So here he tells that in the 15th century in the city there was living a master blacksmith with the name Quentin Matsizes. So this common fellow, he fell in love with a great painter's daughter. Since the father was a famous painter, so he was not going to accept the relationship of his daughter with such low profession man. But the blacksmith, he was so much passionate about his love, so what he did, hands to impress the father that was a great painter, the blacksmith created the image of fly over his latest panel, that is a painting, and that image of fly seemed to be so real. When the painter came there, he tried to hit with his hand. It seemed so real. Thus the painter was greatly impressed by the work of this common man. Quentin was immediately admitted as an apprentice into his studio. He married his beloved and went on to become one of the most famous painters of his age. Apprentice, that means learner or follower. Thus the blacksmith was accepted into the studio of this great painter as a trainee or the follower. He married the painter's daughter and later on he became one of the famous painters of his age. These two stories illustrate what each form of art is trying to achieve. A perfect Hellenistic likeness in Europe, the essence of inner life and spirit in Asia. Illustrate, that means to make clear something by giving the examples. Illusionist likeness, that means the technique of using the pictorial methods to deceive the eye of the viewer, or that means to create the illusion which resembles something to the real life. Now through the given examples from China and Flanders, so the writer has tried to illustrate what each form of art is trying to achieve. Hence we come to know about the two different art forms used in two different regions. In Europe, the aim of the art is to create a perfect Hellenistic likeness. But on the other hand, in Asia, the stress is on the essence of the inner life and the spirit. In the Chinese story, the emperor commissions a painting and appreciates its outer appearance, but the artist reveals to him the true meaning of his work. Commission, that means officially asked to create something. Children, you have just learned from the Chinese story the Chinese emperor, how he could only give the order for the painting, but he was unable to know the real meaning of the work of the artist. He could only appreciate the outer look of the art, but it was the painter who was able to reveal the true meaning of his work to him. The emperor may rule over the territory he has conquered, but only the artist knows the way within. That means the emperor may rule over the lands which he has conquered, but it was the artist alone who knows how to go within. In other words, the emperor could capture many lands in his possessions with his power in this outer world. It is the artist or the teacher who can make and clean your way for the inner journey. That is your inner soul. That is still quite mysterious and most difficult task in the world. But it is only in the strength of the artist to accomplish such task, not in the hand of some powerful emperors who could only win over the outer lands of the world. Let me show the way. The Tao, a word that means both the path or the method and the mysterious works of the universe. Tao means here path or the method. In the story, Wan Wudaozi asks the emperor to show him the way. That means he wanted the emperor to know the inner meaning of the life. That means he wanted the emperor must learn the mystery of the universe. The painting is gone, but the artist has reached his goal beyond any material appearance. When the painting disappeared from the wall, the artist was able to fulfill his goal. That means he was able to make the emperor understand the real motive of life, that is to undertake the inner spiritual journey. For that, we never need any material possessions. We don't have to accumulate land or the property for this. Only we have to go within our soul to understand the real meaning of life. A classical Chinese landscape is not meant to reproduce an actual view, as would a Western figurative painting. Figurative painting is a kind of painting which show the people, animals and objects as they really look. That means Chinese paintings do not reproduce the actual view but use a real landscape to say something. If you are able to understand any object or any painting just looking and observing its outer appearance, so this is called the figurative art form. And this very much art form is followed by all the European painters. They want the beholders to look at a particular landscape from a specific angle. That is exactly he himself saw at it. He represents the figurative art form in his landscape. But the Chinese painters, they never follow this way or choose a single viewpoint in his landscape. His landscape is not a real one, and you can enter it from any point and then travel in it. The artist creates a path for your eyes to travel up and down and then back again in a leisurely movement. As the Chinese painting is not a figurative one, that means a real one. So the Chinese painter, what he does, he creates a path for the entry of his viewer to get inside his painting. While making the entry from one point inside the painting, the viewer is free to make any movement. He can travel up and down anywhere and can come back in his leisure time. And thus, it is depending on the thoughts and the imagination of the viewer, where he wanted to tread and where he wanted to come back and come out from the painting through his imagination. This is even more true in the case of horizontal scroll, in which the action of slowly opening one section of the painting, then rolling it up to the move onto the other, adds a dimension of time which is unknown in any other form of painting. Horizontal scroll is a kind of scroll in which the painting on the paper can be rolled up horizontally. Dimension means length or element of time here. So here in these lines, the writer explains that in China, this mode of horizontal scroll is quite common and enjoyable. The people used to keep such horizontal scroll of the paintings. Hence it becomes quite interesting for the viewer to understand the Chinese painting through this horizontal scroll, where the one section of the painting, it opens up very slowly, and then after understanding the theme, it rolls up and then move to the other side of the painting. Hence it provides the quite good length of time to the viewer to understand the theme and the concept of the painting. This scrolling method is only possible in the Chinese classical forms. The Chinese painter does not want you to borrow his eyes. He wants you to enter his mind. So this means the Chinese artist does not want to use the eyes to understand his theme of the landscape, but he wants that the viewer should enter into his mind, into his thoughts and into his feelings to understand the theme hidden in his landscape. The landscape is an inner one, a spiritual and a conceptual space. Conceptual space means the thing which has a relation with the abstract instead of the factual representation. So here it means the landscape in the classical art form is not the copy of the real one, but it is a representation of the inner reality, something spiritual and conceptual one. Hence this art form tries to achieve the essence of inner life and spirit, and thus touch our souls. This concept is expressed as Shanxi, literally mountain water, which used together represent the word landscape. Shanxi is again the Chinese art of the painting which depicts the natural sceneries. Landscape also stands for the natural sites depicting the mountain, river or the waterfall. Such sites. Here it means the Chinese concept of the art is expressed as Shanxi. So it is said this universe is composed of two complementary poles, that is yin and yang. Yin stands for the feminine part and yang stands for the masculine part. Hence the combination of both these elements are the reasons of the existence of this mankind. Composition of the earth is explained through the example of the mountain in the landscape, that is the yang part, which is reaching vertically towards heaven but is stable, warm and dry in the sun, whereas yin part is the water, which is always receptive and feminine aspect of the universal energy. Hence, according to Taoist view, the middle void is the meeting place or the third element where the interaction between the two elements yin and yang take place. This place or the point, it holds the great importance, but it is always ignored. It can't be attained so easily. So for this, there is the need of doing and practicing the pranayam. That means you have to breathe in, retain and breathe out. That means we have to do inhaling and exhaling. This practice in our body. Hence, the suspension of the breath, it creates the void. The middle void where the interaction takes place. Here the writer wants to say that the point where these two energies meet together, that is called the middle void. It holds the great significance, but it is always ignored and overlooked. This can be compared with the yogic practice of pranayam. Breathe in, retain, breathe out. The suspension of the breath is the void where the meditation occurs. This third element, which is the middle void, so this is the place it can be attained by practicing the pranayam. As this void is the point where the meditation occurs, so which starts your inner journey. The middle void is quite important, otherwise nothing can exist or appear in this world. This is the reason the white unpainted space is left in the Chinese landscape. And without the existence of this point, you can never understand the classical Chinese art forms or the paintings. This is also where man finds a fundamental role in that space between heaven and earth. He becomes the conduit of communication between both poles of the universe. Conduit means channel or the tube. Here the writer says, so this middle void is the place where the man gets his important role. It is the point where the man becomes the channel of communication between the poles of the universe. His presence is essential, even if it is only suggested, far from being lost or oppressed by the lofty peaks. He is, in Francois Cheng's wonderful expression, the eye of the landscape. Oppressed, that means to treat cruelly. Lofty means tall or high. Here the writer concludes the chapter by saying the presence of man on this universe is quite essential because he is the only medium of communication between the two complementary poles of the universe. His presence cannot be ignored or suppressed by the tall, high mountain peaks. So this is the reason there is the presence of the man also in the Chinese paintings. Hence, Francois Cheng, the well-known, the artist, has beautifully expressed the importance of man in the Chinese painting with the words, it is the eye of the landscape. That means the man does the work of conduit of communication between the poles of the universe. So that's why he is the reason of the existence of life on this earth. After knowing about the rich heritage of the Chinese classical painting, now we will proceed to know about the another but very innovative art form that is called the art brut. This innovative form of the art is going to make us clear that art cannot be confined or fit inside any certain box or label as it has a life of its own. Let's now know about this new art form with the title Getting Inside Outside Art. Now let's start the information given about this new art form that is given along with your chapter Landscape of the Soul. This article was published in the Hindustan Times on 28 August 2005 and written by Brinda Suri with the title Getting Inside Outside Art. Let's start it. The article Getting Inside Outside Art. When French painter Jean Dubuffet mooted the concept of art brut in the 1940s, the art of untrained visionary was of minority interest. From its almost veiled beginnings, outsider art has gradually become the fastest growing area of interest in contemporary art internationally. Mooted means suggested. Visionary, that means imaginative. Art brut, that means the raw art. Contemporary, that means the modern or the same. Here it is explained when the French painter Jean Dubuffet he suggested the concept of art brut, that means the raw art, in the 1940s time. There was very less interest of the people in this area. As for this art, there was no need of the training. It depends on the imagination of the people. That's why it caters very less interest of the people. From its almost veiled beginnings, outsider art has gradually become the fastest growing area of interest in the contemporary art internationally. Veiled means hidden or secret. Contemporary, that means of the same time. So here it is said, though this art has got a very secret and very slow beginning, but with the time the outsider art has gradually become the fast growing area of interest in the international modern art. This genre is described as art of those who have no right to be artists as they have received no formal training yet show talent and artistic insight. Their works are a stimulating contrast to a lot of mainstream offerings. Genre, that means brand. Insight, that means understanding. Stimulating, that means encouraging. Mainstream, that means normal. It is explained here that this particular art form is the creation of those who have no right to be the artist as they have never received any formal training. Yet they show the talent and artistic understanding in their works. Works of such artists who are untrained are quite stimulating, that means encouraging, and in sharp contrast to the people who are giving the work in the normal art form training. In other words, so these people, they are thinking outside the box and defying the normal standards. Around the time Dubuffet was propounding his concept in India, an untutored genius was creating paradise. Propounding, that means proposing or suggesting, and untutored, that means a person who has not got the formal training. In these lines it is said that when the time Dubuffet was propounding his concept of the outside art, that moment in a country an untutored genius was creating the paradise on the earth. Years ago, the little patch of jungle that he began clearing to make himself a garden sculpted with stone and recycled material is known to the world today as Rock Garden at Chandigarh. Sculpted, that means made figures by shaping and cutting it. Recycle, that means to treat objects already used. It is explained that many years ago, an unskilled and untrained genius of a country had cleared the land of the forest and created a beautiful garden. Its 80-year-old creator, director Nek Chand is now hailed as India's biggest contributor to outsider art. The 50th issue of Provision, a UK-based magazine pioneer in outsider art publications, features Nek Chand and his rock garden sculpture Women by Waterfall on its anniversary issue's cover. Hailed means acclaimed or praised. Hence, this 80 years old creator and director Nek Chand is now acclaimed to be the India's biggest contributor to the outsider art. Hence, impressed by the remarkable work of this unorthodox artist, a UK-based magazine that used to publish the outside art has included the feature of Nek Chand and his rock garden sculpture of the Women by the Waterfall on its anniversary cover issue. The notion of art rot or raw art was of works that were in their raw state as regards cultural and artistic influences. Anything and everything from a tin to a sink to a broken down car could be material for a work of art, something Nek Chand has taken to a dizzying heights. Notion means concept. Dizzying means the thing that make you feel dizzy. So here it is explained the concept of art rot or the raw art means that art form in which the things are taken in the raw condition and turned into the creation which is affected by the cultural and the artistic value of that region. So anything and everything from a tin to a sink to a broken down car could be the material for such art form. Thus, Nek Chand had used all such waste material and turned into a garden with stone and recycled material. And this has taken him to the dizzying height of popularity. Recognizing his art as an outstanding testimony of the difference a single man can make when he lives his dream. The popularity of his great art form has given the outstanding proof to the world that if a single man tries something different, he would be able to fulfill his dreams. The Swiss Commission for UNESCO will be honoring him by the way of a European exposition of his works. Exposition means display. Hence, the Swiss Commission for UNESCO is going to honor the talent of this man by the way of display of his works in their trade fairs. The 5-month interactive show, Realm of Nek Chand, beginning October, will be held at leading museums in Switzerland, Belgium, France and Italy. Realm means kingdom. So here it is mentioned that some countries like Switzerland, Belgium, France and Italy, so all these countries have decided to analyze and appreciate the work of this unexceptional artist by conducting the interactive programs in the museum with the title Realm of Nek Chand by the coming October month, which showed the impact of the remarkable work of art brought to the world. The biggest reward is walking through the garden and seeing people enjoy my creation, Nek Chand says. But Nek Chand replies that the biggest honor for him in the world is that when he finds the people walking through his garden and enjoying by seeing his creation in the rock garden. This is the biggest honor and reward in his life. Hence, he gives the proof how the real artist he thinks outside the box and defies all the normal standards and make the creation of the paradise on the earth, just like Nek Chand does in the form of rock garden in Chandigarh. I hope you have all well understood the explanation. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you have well understood this part of the chapter. Now wait for the next part in the coming video. For more informative videos, you can do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for watching the video.